Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It has been a while since we've done a video, and today is Sunday, May 11th, Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there, and to all of you gentlemen. Please remember to say Happy Mother's Day to your mother, or your wife, or your significant other, or all the mothers that are part of your family, friends, family. Special day for them, and I'm sure they do a lot and bring a lot of happiness and make your life that much more complete. So don't forget to say Happy Mother's Day and remember those that are most important to you. As for the lack of a video in the last few weeks, we were going to do a grade reveal on a box of 21 coins that ended up being lost by FedEx. And to make a long story short, because I work so much during the day, I always have the FedEx package held at a Walgreens not too far from my house. And of course it's signature confirmation, and I've done this 100 times over the last 5, 6, 7 years, never had a problem. Got the alert that the package was ready for pickup and went by after work. They didn't have it. They checked a bunch of times. I ended up calling the FedEx support number, talked to a manager. He was confident that the package was there, so he ended up calling them. I was in their presence, and it definitely wasn't there. After some more research, he came back on the phone and said he found out what happened, and the driver, when he dropped off the package and was picking up outbound packages from the Walgreens, inadvertently picked my package back up again. So he dropped it off, and 5 minutes later he picked it back up again, and that caused confusion in the tracking because now it registered as another delivery. So there was like a duplicate tracking number where one of them showed it was ready for pickup, the other showed it was out for delivery the next day. They said, he'd bring it back, you'd be able to pick it up there again the next day. I asked, will I get the alerts again, that it's been, that it's ready for pickup, and they confirmed I would. Well, the next day I got an alert that the package had been delivered, which prompted a little bit of concern because I hadn't signed for it. So I called them, and they assured me that it wasn't delivered, that it was ready for pickup at the Walgreens. I called the Walgreens, they didn't have it, so I was stuck at work for the next few hours. I asked my wife if the package was delivered, and it had not been delivered. And after several phone calls, and then one of them was to PCGS to let them know that the package might be lost. The package was eventually found by my wife that night outside the wrong apartment door. It's a condo complex, so the wrong building. But it hadn't been opened, but she opened it up and confirmed the contents, so that prevented us from being able to do a grade reveal. There was nothing really that special in that package. There was a bunch of Morgans that graded 63 through 65 and a couple commemoratives that graded anywhere from AU 58 to MS 64. There was a Grant, there was an Alabama. Let me see, what was the other? I forget. But anyways, nothing crazy, nothing too exciting. So fortunately, we did get that box back, but there was a lot of anxious moments, and FedEx was really, the driver was new, and hopefully they learned a lesson, because that would have been a pretty bad situation if that box hadn't been recovered. Anyway, on to this video. Here you're looking at a couple of albums that we just picked up. I've been buying coins from a gentleman who is in his early 80s, and he's been collecting coins since 1957. He was born in 1944, and around the age of 12 or 13, he got into coin collecting when he was buying a Coke, and he put, I think he said he put a dime into a vending machine, and he got 3 cents change, and 2 of them were Indian head pennies, which he later found out were worth 5 and 7 cents respectively, and he was hooked. And these albums here are, I've bought a lot of albums over the years, hundreds. I haven't really bought too many of these. These are not an album you find on a regular basis, and when you do, they're usually slicks, incomplete, certainly no key dates or anything. But he put this album together back in the 1960s primarily, when he was in his 20s and he was a little bit more in a position to afford the coins. The same with the Shield and Liberty nickels. You'll see on the inner half of the album, the copyright, that these were all produced in the 50s and 60s. And he, over time, upgraded different pieces. And this album is quite spectacular, I guess would be the best word. It's only missing the 1916, and it even has the Overdate, which in and of itself is a one of the great silver, rare silver coins of the 20th century. Many of these are close to uncirculated. Some of them are cleaned, some of them are not. But overall, the condition is pretty impressive. One of the 17Ds is actually a 17S, so it was 3 17S's and 1 17D. There are 2 17S Type 1 and 1 Type 2, and the 17D that is a D is a Type 1. Just give you a chance to kind of get an idea for some of the quality of these, because in these grades, some of these dates are several $100s or even more. The Overdate would be hard. You'd be hard pressed to get one for less than probably $2,000. And the lowest of grade, I'll take it out and we'll take a look at exactly what the pickup points are of this Overdate. When I first saw it, I wasn't sure if it was just a filler or if it really was the Overdate. And sure enough, it's, and he confirmed it, that he bought it from Bowers and Mariner back in the 60s, and that it's certainly genuine. Before the advent of coin grading, it's been in this album ever since. If you look at the 8, you can clearly see, if my hand would stop shaking, where the 7 is underneath the 8. Let me get a pointer. So you can see a little bit of light there, how the bottom 8 is kind of filled in, and you can see the outline, the corner of the top of the 8. It's not rounded. And we'll pull out a regular 18. All the die markers are in line with this, and I would say it's probably a fine 15, maybe a VF 20. We've got full rims. We've got a nice, natural, dirty, gray-brown patina. There's no hairlines. We've got roundedness. We've got shield details. And, yeah, probably a fine 15 would be my guess. But not a coin you see every day. So let's compare it side by side with a regular 1918. Alright, so there's a 1918. That's the Overdate, I should say, and here's a 1918S. Non-Overdate, if I can get the... Here we go. Of course, this one's in higher grade, so it's harder to Maybe that's a little better. Let me get a different Fox tripod, if you will. So I think it's a little bit too high. I think it's pretty obvious. So this will eventually be going into PCGS. I hate to break the album up because the album is just so... this is what happens when you take your time and you build it slowly and methodically. And there's a lot of other key dates. You can see that's supposed to be a D, but that's an S. The 1919s. D and S especially, and the 1921 and the 1923 are pretty challenging coins. At 1921, I have it as an AU58. And if you check Gray Sheet or any other price guide, you'll see it's $2,000 or thereabouts. 23S, I meant, not 23P, but the 23S is a very scarce find. Let me just put the sliders back in before I turn the page, so they don't all go flying out. The second page, especially the second half of the second page, does have quite a few unks. I won't even begin to try to determine if any are full head, because that to me is an exercise in futility. Take the slider out, might be a little bit easier to see. And some of them are cleaned. I think that 26S is pretty harshly cleaned. This 25 has some really vivid color. I'll take it out in a second. 27S is the key date of the later part of the series. There's a couple here that are quite choice. I want to say the 28 maybe and the 28D, I can't remember, 29D, that have a really nice original look to them. This 25, let's see if I can capture the color. Probably won't do well here. I'm going to guess it might even come back questionable color. Probably not going to. Yeah, we're not going to get the color that you can see. I mean, you can see hints of it, but it's a lot more vivid in person. If I turn the light off, if it will help or hurt. Yeah, no, I need the light. You can see the hues of red, orange, gold, green, and blue, and aqua, all the different colors that PCGS would probably call this artificially toned or questionable color. I don't want to say it looks painted on. I know that this album has been with him for the better part of 50 years. Don't know the origination of this specific coin or how long he's had it. He hasn't added to this album in, I think he told me, close to 20 years. So most of these coins have been in their houses here for a long, long time. If you want to take a guess, he had kept meticulous records, and I asked him what he paid to assemble the whole thing, and he went through all his records. And the entire album, if you just look at the the final piece, not, if he replaced a coin once or twice, but the coins that are in the album right now, if you add up the total that he spent, $2,300 for the whole album. Needless to say, he did very well in terms of his return on investment, because the Overdate alone is probably worth about that. Maybe more, depending on how it grades, depending on how it sells. But there's no immediate plans to sell it. I want to take out one or two others, like this 1921. So I just thought that was pretty amazing. Even this coin. If we take a look at the 1921, so the 1921 on gray sheet, $1,258, $953. It's close to $1,000 coin. No hairlines. Nothing that leads me to think it's been improperly cleaned, but I don't handle a lot of these, so you never know. Take a look at this little bit more of a common date, 1920. This one looks a little bit cleany. It's got that brightness to it. But again, there's no hairlines, so not really sure. Regardless, cleaned or not. It's not every day you run into them in this level, especially in an album. If you look on Heritage or one of the auction websites, sure. But in an album, not so much. 1919D is a pretty scarce issue in and of itself. A few hundred in VF and XF. We could be here for hours looking through them, so we'll move on to the nickel album, which is pretty stunning in and of itself. This had Shield nickels, Liberty V nickels, and Buffalo nickels, and quality of most of these is pretty darn good. I would say almost all of the Shield nickels are at least choice very fine. I would say they're all at least a 30 if they're not cleaned. And there's many AUs. The 1871, which is one of the key dates, little PVC on that 1869, a couple of them do have that. But this 1871, I have it as an AU 55. And that's a pretty tough date. At 1876 might be one of the lower grades. None of the proof-only issues, and then those very scarce early 80s. Only a few hundred or a few thousand were made, but let's have a look at this 1871. Let's take a look at it on gray sheet and see what they have it at, because I was not aware, not too familiar with shield nickels, just how scarce the 1871 is. But if you look at like the stars, they all have, except for that one above the T in cents and the E in cents, they're all pretty much three-dimensional. I think strike weakness is a very big problem with this series, from what I read. A lot of weaker struck coins. There's a few $100 in AU. And then the Liberty nickels, they're all pretty much XF. Or better. He is missing the key date 85. I was surprised to see how expensive these are in XF. I thought these might be 10, 15, 20 bucks each, but a lot of them are over 100. And quite a few of them are significantly over 100. I think the 1893, or maybe it's the 94. One or two of those dates in the middle of the series, in the 1890s, I do believe. It's pretty darn expensive. Might be the 94. Yeah, it's a couple $100 in XF. So that's the 1894. So here it is. You can see all the stars have six-sided dimensionality, except for that very first and second are a little bit flat. And amazingly, if you read up on it on CoinFacts, they actually mention that that's a well-known problem with this particular issue. I would say that's all of XF, probably in AU 50, 53. There are other dates that are, I think there's a couple that are even more expensive than that in XF. It's before 1900. It's the 95. I don't remember. Nope. Maybe it's the 93. Somewhere in the early 90s, I thought. Nope. Maybe it is the late 80s. I don't remember. Let me see. 89, maybe? No. Is it? Oh, maybe it's the 88. Yeah, it's the 88. Yep, it's the 88 starts. So here's another one that's over 100 in XF, the 1888. So let's take a quick peek at that one. I would say it's XF. Don't handle a lot of them. I think the 87 is also somewhat expensive. Nope. There's a few. 1984 is the second date of the series. And then, of course, you get the 83 with cents and without cents, and the one with cents is much scarcer than the one without. And here's the two varieties. The Racketeer nickels were born from this series where they would dip them in gold paint or gold plate and try to pass them off as $5 gold eagles. So on the left is no cents and on the right is with cents. And I think these both are lightly cleaned, somewhere in the VF, borderline XF range, probably more VF, especially the with cents. That's a quick summary on the Liberty nickels. And then to round out the nickels, we have the Buffaloes, which is complete except for the varieties. There's no Overdate. And there's no 3 legs, but we do have the DS Type 2, and they do not appear to be acid treated. They do appear to be original. They're, lower grade still. At 14D is a pretty tough date. It's probably a nice fine. At 16 is a common date. Nice XF. Mostly lower grade compared to his other work. It's a little more of a working man's album for sure. And the Barber Half set is not complete. It's 69 out of 73 coins, and they're all lower grade. They're all good to very good. I won't go through them all, but missing the 92 O and S, which are both expensive dates. The 93S is another key date. And of course the 96 O and the 96S, the 97 O, those are all better dates. When we get into the other pages, the 98 O and S are a little bit better. The 01 O and S is a bit of a key date. Not key date, but just expensive. It's not like it's super rare. 04S, 040. So that's a much more commonly seen album, but we are going to go through these and methodically decide what we're going to do with them. But I just thought that Standing Liberty Quarter album was worth putting on display, because I think that's the finest Standing Liberty Quarter album I've ever seen assembled, and it's not even close. I don't think I've ever seen a full one, let alone one with the Overdate. I think I've only handled one other Overdate in all of my years, let alone finding one in an album. Pretty amazing. So thank you for watching, folks. Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. Don't forget the ones closest in your life, and like, comment, subscribe, leave any questions. Please be respectful of all the readers and the content creator, and we'll catch you on the next video.